Oh my god. Welcome guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hi YouTube.
Hi YouTube.
Hi YouTube.
My coffee is drecking, so make sure to send your donations there.
You are now live on Scorpion's Video Stash. Don't say shit or bugger. I think it's on this thing. Cool. Right, so session five. We have. I don't even know if I need to necessarily do a summary because we have very, very detailed session notes from last time. Thank you so much, Patches. I know you're listening to this. Gives you a big kiss.
Got my notes open just in case.
Yeah, just in case. Yeah, Patches, if you're listening, you're going to need to make notes apparently because no one else is doing notes.
Please, we're begging you. We'll give you inspiration every session.
It's like,
No.
yeah. True. Still got the inspiration for next time. I can't give you double inspiration, so I guess someone else will have to do it.
We'll invent it.
I do wish you could keep a pool of inspiration sometimes.
Yeah, me too. When you gave me an inspiration after my birthday one.
I know. Unfortunately, the rules as written, we're only allowed one inspiration. I'm sorry, Rickard. Luckily, you have a literal thing that gives you kind of inspiration anyway.
Shush.
Last session was a relatively chill session, all things considered, but full of information. You investigated the dead Dwergar. You got a hot cube, a journal, which had details of... actually, you read both journals, I believe. I believe we comprehend languaged both of them. There was... his handwritten journal from the camp was about his just... was about like... kind of... It's very cynical, very kind of angry diary. He seemed to be a scholar / jewelry maker and worked with a group called the Night Serpent Clan. They disrespected him a lot, and they were like a big group of drow, so he made a bunch of slightly racist comments in his journal. In the other one, it was more of an experiment log on the usage of this fragment of crystal, which you identified having the words conduit sample number 14 on the side. And it was like basically an experiment log and a travel log. You guys then you met up with Alara. You went back to the Druids camp and you were made protectors of Crypt Garden Forest. And you were presented with a wand, the Crypt Garden wand, which is in the possession of a certain, I believe Arian has it. Terra met a small green creature with wings. It was very rude and told them to keep their nose out where it doesn't belong. And then the rest of you then went to go meet the fairy and basically got insults slung at you. Before it seemed to shift back to its own plane. And I believe as it kind of disappeared, that's where we begin. I'm pretty sure that's pretty much where we ended it, right?
Yeah.
From what I remember. So, in essence, this fairy disappeared. There was a warning lingering in the air. You have a bunch of information, but not a whole lot of answers. You know that this crystal seems to be Fey in origin, and that it went through the Underdark at some point. Although more than that, you suspect you would probably need to talk to somebody with an even deeper knowledge on crystals. And basically, up to you to write your own kind of, wherever you want to go next, I guess.
So, what's Dozing's crystal proficiency at? Did you actually workshop
we
like
did.
a tarot crystal proficiency?
We sure did. I think I don't know if you added it to your
We
sheet.
did.
I don't know if you added it to
I
your
did.
sheet.
I added it to my sheet. Yes.
Okay, you want me to read it? Do you want me to read it out?
You can put it in chat.
No, we need the audiobook. I'm paying
Oh,
for
that's right. Yes, that's right. 2 more people in
Oh,
here.
yeah, true. Patches at home needs to hear this. Yes. Hang on a minute. You've not have you updated this? Does it still say ooh gems yum dink donk dink donk?
It has both of them on there. I'm not getting rid of that.
Okay, no, that's fair. Expertise to bonus to identifying gems using wisdom score. It's kind of like inherent knowledge and understanding of gems rather than like an academic one. Also, I need to refresh my Roll20 because you know how I mentioned about how Roll20 absolutely sucks shit if you don't have hardware acceleration on. I had to turn hardware acceleration off. Let me turn that back on. I need to remember how to turn it back on. Okay, graphics acceleration. There we go. Yeah, Roll20 is impossibly shit if you do not have hardware acceleration. It's so slow, and I played an entire campaign like that. It was brutal.
Why?
Because I didn't know. And I had it off because you can't like screen share movies if you have hardware acceleration on.
Oh, can you not?
No, lots of websites like block you, but if you turn hardware acceleration off, it lets you fucking screen share them, and it's like, fuck you, YouTube. I literally fucking paid for this, so I'm yeah. It's like if they were around my house, I could put it on my TV, but God forbid I tried to stream it over Discord. You fucking cunt.
Yeah.
Hardware acceleration's on and it's still shit.
I'm sorry. I don't know if there's any solving the laptop not being very high powered. I mean, you know.
Download more RAM, the classic.
Yeah, true. What's the goal with the 1D21, Drekken? What are you accomplishing by rolling that? Would you like to share?
Just trying out my luck.
Okay.
You're trying to run up me. That's what I'm trying to do.
Right, fair enough. Anyway, so yeah. What do you guys want to do? I put the question back. You go.
You're not here, Tara. You're in your tent sobbing.
I'm not sobbing. I'm fucking passed the fuck out.
Yeah, you're not sobbing. You're snoozing. Very big difference.
Exactly.
Oh, snoozing terrors. It's like Journey just said they're not a gnome, they're like a pillock or a bastard or something. I forgot the word.
I can't remember exactly what it was. Like something along those lines. Although I do love Journey's naivety in that I think all fairies are assholes. It's like kind of like rule number one of the fairies is that they're just kind of dickheads.
That's like the alignment, chaotic arsehole.
Yeah, this guy is like particularly on the arsehole front though. Like, didn't even try and do like a contract with you, just told you to fuck off. So, you know, he's a somewhat more of a curmudgeon than you might expect based on, you know, maybe written text on fairies, I suppose.
Hey, I know a little bit about fairies.
Yeah.
I know they like to make deals and all that.
Yeah. You do know that. You do know that.
I'm the only person here who speaks Sylvian.
That is true. That is true. Even though we have a blink dog companion, and you're the only one who can talk to it.
And we don't get on.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm imagining Journey and Scrapped are going to be hanging out in camp for, you know, like. Calming Scraps down because Scraps wanted to climb up the tree and thump the fairy, if I remember correctly. You know, that's where we're at. That is where we're at.
That was not like any other fairy I've ever seen. Not even a deal. Just insult after insult. Honestly, I'm disappointed. I wanted to see what the little bugger had to say.
I think we saw what it had to say, and it was fuck off.
Yeah.
I was hoping for more.
Well, it doesn't leave us a lot of options of where to go next.
Yeah, I mean, we've got the Underdark, and also maybe we need someone who can read those journals or whatever. What's that stone you got? The 14th conduit. Maybe someone knows more about that in Waterdeep. You're a wizard, you would know.
I mean, we could go back. There might be something there, but it's a large place and it's pretty exclusive to get into, or to get access. And I don't know if we'll have something unless we're willing to fork over the crystal itself. They might not even let us in.
Waterdeep's not too exclusive. Candlekeep.
Oh, I was thinking of Candlekeep.
Candlekeep's the more exclusive one.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put on a pointy hat and walk in.
They are generalists, right? They're not like general, like they're wizards, but they you might find someone, but it's difficult to find someone who's going to know crystals, right? So
Waterdeep is a very large city, right? Like Candlekeep is a big library.
I keep getting them mixed up.
Yeah. They are very similarly named, but Candlekeep is the fortress that Uruk is from, and Waterdeep is one of the largest cities in the world, and it's also full of wizards and academics. There is a fairly famous College of Waterdeep.
So what I'd probably say instead of what I said is that, well, if we go to Waterdeep, probably has a lot of people who know, but it's there's always the risk of someone taking the crystal or keeping it from, or wanting to keep it in exchange for whatever, considering that it seems pretty somewhat powerful, and if Fae are after it, it's probably somewhat important. The other part of it is it's probably a bit too much of a trek for now, but there's always other repositories of knowledge just scattered throughout, so maybe something there has information. But yeah, it's either, I guess, unless anyone has something more immediate to press, as we decide whether we want to go venture in the Underdark, which I'm not a big fan of doing, considering it seemed to be guarded by a gate and an outpost, and I doubt they'd let us enter it either way. Or we go back south to Waterdeep.
Admittedly, you've not necessarily seen the entrance to the Underdark either. You know that there is one in Cryptgarden Forest, and you know that it's nominally guarded by people, but you've not been there. But yeah, you got options.
I mean, gonna be frank, I don't want to mess with the drow. Frankly, I don't want to see any. I'd avoid them. But you're the wizard. I don't know what its thing is. To me, it's just a rock. I'll just follow along with the party this time.
I guess it's just see if anyone's got any immediate plans of something they want to do, and if not, we then decide the next course of action. Although, thinking about it, the journal never mentioned where exactly the entrance is, so pretty big forest we're in, so it might not even be possible to find the entrance.
Oh, sounds like something those druids would know.
Especially with the with the return, the reduction of this blight, there's a chance they've got more connection to the forest than they were having recently.
I think the only immediate concern is getting scraps out of that tree.
Yeah.
That's where Scraps is the whole session, just up a tree. We tried calling the fire brigade. They wouldn't come.
I'm sure we can trust Journey to get them out.
Yeah, we'll have to leave.
You're just like, alright guys, we're going to Waterdeep. If you get Scraps out of the tree, just catch up with the three of them.
Yeah, I can't think of any other way we'd manage to find what's going on here.
Yeah.
Without speaking to someone who knows more than us.
I mean, there was a druid apparently in the camp that might know at least.
Oh yeah, they might know.
That might know a little bit more, but I'm not sure that it will be. It might be enough to illuminate where we need to go, but I doubt they'll be able to solve all the mysteries for us.
No, but would it not be easier to go to the Underdark where we can maybe find more crystals?
I mean, that does well. The crystals are not from the Underdark. They might have more there.
Yeah,
Just
they
from
might
the
have more, right? Because I'm
but
assuming
that also
this guy is
requires
part of the
venturing into
guild.
the Underdark, which is, from my understanding, not the most pleasant place.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about you boys, but I'm tired. And I think Terra's being left out of the conversation. Not that I mind leaving them out too much, but
Wow.
I think I'm looking forward to one more like this.
Yeah, I'd quite like to attune to this one.
That is very fair. You guys can sleep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stare at this stick. It's rude. You
I
just-
guess
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I guess we'll head back to camp and I can talk to the druid, see if he knows anything more, and you guys can rest up.
Sounds good. And I'm just going to start walking that direction again. Oh, my chair.
No.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a long rest at camp.
Yeah.
Okie doke.
Wait for Terra to wake up. We're going to get like the atomic alarm clock for Terra.
God.
You're
The
gonna,
rooster's back alive again.
you're gonna pull out your wondrous magic item, very loud ice cream, and you're going to wake Terra up.
I'm going to like ask Eric if they have like any spell that can make a loud noise to wake Terra up.
Alarm! It's a thing.
I guess I
You do-
have an alarm, but like, how?
I mean, it's not really how that works.
That's an elaborate prank.
Yeah.
I've spent 10 minutes setting up the alarm and then manually trigger it.
Hey, no, come on. It's the jape of a decade.
You know, if you really want to scare the shit out of someone into sleep, you can just go up to next to their head and just like clap really loud. You don't really need to fucking cast a spell.
Magic seems
I'm
unnecessary.
gonna cast Shatter at 9th level.
Jesus. I feel like that tear that goddamn paint off walls like 1 miles away. 9th level.
It just knocks a
That's
barn
right.
over.
Cast like a fucking old spell that like I think first round it's like a 20-foot like loud cube and then it goes out by an additional 20 feet every round and you can get it to affect like fucking like 200 or more feet. Just like Jesus, fucking
Oh my
damage to
God.
get that. Something just rings more and more.
It's just the vine boom as well. Like, it just fucking vibrates outwards.
So what do you say? Do you want to put an alarm by Terra's tent?
I mean, it seems a bit magic seems a bit too elaborate to use for that kind of prank, and it's I mean, they can wake up on their own time.
Oh, you're no
Not
fun.
like we're in a rush.
Mm-mm.
Why don't you want to piss off our very upset bard right now?
I don't know. I'm not. Maybe they're into pranks.
Maybe they'll find it funny.
I don't
Very
know if
upset
being
by
woken up by a loud
charming.
noise is a good prank.
Like, that was a fluke. Okay, I've just rolled really low on my wisdom, which is also -1.
Uh-huh. Mm-mm.
Well, in which case, you will take a long rest. You will take a long rest at the druids' camp, I suppose.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Click a long rest button.
I'll be taking Blog with us.
I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't take Blog with you.
I feel like
I'm surprised
I don't know,
that
it's like-
Pixie didn't abduct Blog and just be like,
Yeah.
"Wait, why? What are you doing here?"
I sincere, you know, I just think that like he hated everything. Just like
yeah.
Look, I don't think the fairies are particularly that precious about wild animals from the Feywilds either. I imagine that they probably just eat them. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
I don't know. It might just be like the case of just like you see a lost animal and it's like, well, it's not like I see an animal in the wrong spot. I'm going to protect my car. You are literally just like teleporting somewhere. It's probably not that much effort. Just be like,
Yeah.
you are with it. You're coming with. Just like they were just like, I can't even be fucked for that.
I had the opportunity to get rid of the dog companion and I didn't take it. You know, maybe I wanted you guys to keep Scooby Doo. You know, like,
Yeah.
Really?
Do we? This is the only thing I'm thinking is, do we, or would we keep, or would we leave it here to help, like, with scraps?
I'm assuming that Blogs is with Scraps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blob's at the bottom of the tree barking, and Scraps is up there scared.
In the same
Yeah.
way that nobody else would use your familiar, I'm imagining that, like, really, Blogs is Scraps' dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah, effectively, yeah.
Yeah, like it's not really anyone else's dog.
I also like the idea that one of my spells I could have gotten Scraps out of the tree, and either I elected not to, or Scraps was like, "No, I am not coming down."
Yeah.
I just didn't even bother.
I guess it comes morning. Arian, add Crypt Garden wand to your list of attunement. You are attuned to the Crypt Garden wand.
Ooh.
I think the druids are happy to keep you as long as you want, I guess. But
If we're going to be getting up at separate times, I think Arian would take the morning. He'd get up. He'd be attuned to the one, and then go and talk to the drow for a bit.
Talk to the what? Sorry, talk to the drow.
The drow, yeah.
Oh, the drow.
Druid.
The one who was like into gems.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I would probably also be there for that.
Yeah, just because he's like he'd want to, like, it's like a bit of his knowledge that's probably not as rounded out, so he wants to learn a bit more about the Underdark.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you probably do come across. I imagine that you probably do come across I would say like he's probably milling around at this point. So you speak to the you approach the drow. He seems to give you a smile as you approach. You've not really seen many drow around, really. They are. It's not so much that dark elves / drows don't really go around on the surface so much. It's just that, like, they're a bit less common.
And I imagine they're not hanging out in big cities as well. The same.
They probably do more now. Like I imagine they're more likely in cities and in villages, right? Like, there is a lot of shared animosity between the drow and the surface dwellers over the time, but like that's not true for all. Like drow are not inherently evil. It's just that they're raised in a very nasty society. Like and this
and I think it's more that, like, Arian's a bit sheltered, so he's not come across any, right? Because he's not really
exactly
met many people.
Yeah, you've probably never seen a drow before. But like I say, even like. I think that this drow, he's rather, again, he looks a lot like the other druids, kind of long hair, somewhat unkempt, wearing very plain looking, kind of utilitarian type gardener's clothes, really. And I think he gives you a smile as you approach, like a genuine smile. It doesn't seem like somebody who's out to get you. It seems like all of these druids do seem to have a large amount of respect for you all since yesterday. I think as you approach, he's like, "Good morning." To both, I guess, Arian and Uruk who approach, right?
Yeah.
I'll be sleeping in.
That's fair. That's fair.
I guess Uruk will probably reach you and be like, "Oh, I've heard while adventuring and curing the blight from the forest, we've encountered a small crystal. We've, due to we found out on a Drugar, the language and the tale in his journals, he was saying how he came from the Underdark. We've surmised that the crystal itself may not be from there, but we're just wondering if you know of any serial experiments or if this kind of crystal is prevalent or if it was found in the Underdark or something. We just need, we've kind of got this one lead and we don't know which direction to take it. So if you've got any insight, it would be much appreciated." And he'll pull out the conduit from his bag and show it.
I think he's like, "Do you mind if I hold it for a moment and take a closer look?"
Yeah, sure. He'll as he hands it over, he'll first showed to the writing and said I think it was conduit sample 14 is the writing there.
Conduit sample 14. Very scientific, isn't it? He takes a little look. He's like, well, I must regret to say I'm not exactly an expert in gems, but I can tell you. He seems to think for a second. He's like, in all honesty, I've not been to the Underdark in many a year, but this is... I think you are definitely correct in that this is like nothing in the Underdark. Still, it definitely would track that it has gone through... I do not believe that the Drow have so much to do with gemstones most of the time. Though my people do spend a lot of their time in the pursuit of academics and the arcane. So perhaps if there is like a magical element to this, it may well be that my people worked on that. As for the gemstone itself, it seemed as if it has been worked on or crafted. That would probably come under the purview of the Dwergar. They have a large amount of jewelers and metal workers and gem workers. So it would perhaps seem to be some kind of joint project, I suppose. You are most likely right that this has been through the Underdark at some point. I believe. There is an entrance to the Underdark within Crypt Garden.
Oh.
Yes, indeed, it is the way that I came out. It heads through the ruins of an old city. There is a small fortress on the surface, although it is not exactly how we would say the best guarded. Perhaps I could lead you there if you would like.
Will, I think it's something we need to talk to our companions about. The Underdark is not renowned for its safety, and there may be other paths to explore first before we venture somewhere we're not familiar with.
Yes, quite possibly. What? What was that?
I've discovered sounds by accident. And that's the sound of one of the servers on what it turns out.
Did somebody just like fall down a hole?
Is Terra woken up?
I can't even remember how I did it now. I pressed something and it gave me a menu of things.
It's a
All
little.
of them's Danish.
It's one of the. It's the low disconnect item as the low horn.
Yeah.
Dragon, no.
No.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
No.
I will say, for everyone's benefit, you can right-click that symbol and drag the slider to 0.
I mean, you can. However, have you considered? No. I mean, like, you know. Anyway.
You all with your Nitro Discord.
That's so true.
I'm gonna run out like tomorrow, so I need to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, no! No!
Stop.
Fuck
It's
off!
Easter.
It's like, we've not even had an Easter egg yet! For fuck's sake!
For everyone watching on YouTube, I can only apologise.
I'm sorry, Patches. I'm sorry, Nish. I'm sorry, but have you considered?
Oh my god.
I think if Nish watches that, I think they deserve like an inspiration.
Well, and Patches doesn't. And Patches doesn't.
They've already got one.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay, Nish, if you come back and say "skibbity toilet" in my DMs, inspiration.
Oh my god.
That's our litmus test. right? Like.
Can we get a skibbity toilet in the comments?
You're gonna forget you said that, and Nish is gonna randomly just message you skibbity toilet.
Listen. My brain don't forget things. I will see the word skibbity toilet, and I will immediately now go, yes, inspiration. I remember.
Can we get some Ohio? Fucking just every cursed Zoomer meme. Just add them all.
Yeah, please. Could you
Ohio Riz, fucking skibbity toilet.
could you please
Oh my
send me a message
God.
that says sticking out your gap for the Rizzler? You'll say skibbity.
Rude.
It's some phantom
You'll say
tax.
phantom text, and then I'll like send a sad face back, and that's how you know that you've got inspiration. Anyway, that was a diversion.
That hurt me. That hurt me.
I should really make people do like YTP references. That's more my era. I think.
Yeah.
You know,
Jeez.
Oh my god.
if you could all.
So he's too young for that.
That is brutal. You're too young for YTP. You know,
I think I might be slightly as well.
maybe. I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I'll get some of them, but not all of them.
I just remember like I just remember some of the really old ones. Like there was that fucking Toy Story YTP that just fucking remixes the song and it's like suck my motherfucking dick, and it's been stuck in my
Jeez.
that's been stuck in my head for like 15 years. Which is, you know, I've got brainworms, as you can imagine.
Oh my god.
I'll say
Our brains are destroyed.
yeah.
Great notes this session, y'all. Great notes.
Yeah, the notes of this session are going to be like knowyourmeme.com. Like, anyway, you guys heard of Dungeons and Dragons? Well.
We've spoken to the drow about.
Yes.
He told us that there's an entrance into Crypt Garden Forest, which is where he came from.
Yes. I think he probably. I think that as you guys are talking to this druid, I think another druid approaches you. One that you've probably spoken to. Like, you know, you were like chatting to the druids last night, Bryn. Eric was like speaking to the druids. Like,
Yeah.
I think one of them approaches you and approaches the other druids and is like, my apologies, I do not mean to interrupt. I think the drow looks to him like, what is it, Brother Colin? And this slightly younger druid's like, there are a few people coming through the woods. They seem to be dressed in wizard gowns.
That's peculiar.
Yes. I couldn't help but overhear a conversation. They were headed in the direction of the orifice. I mean, the entrance to the Underdark.
Possible they. If Arian, who's near that, when he mentions wizards, you'll probably see him be a bit more tense. When they mentions going to the orifice, he'll probably loosen up and just be a bit curious and be like, I guess they might have reason to go down there. Depends on, maybe we can talk to them, see what the purpose is. They might be a bit, it's just a group of people in the woods. They might be either a bit startled by a sudden appearance, but I don't think it would do much harm in talking to them and seeing what they're doing. Just
They
don't
might
reveal
also
too much
appreciate
information.
our input on what happened. And, be able to lead us to, give us some more information on where we want to go next.
Yeah.
If, sort of a trade of info.
I think the drow is like, if you would like, I could scout ahead for you. We could perhaps meet up in the woods and I could tell you if I notice him doing anything suspicious or untoward.
I think that'd be best. We can gather people quickly and move towards it. Just ensure that no further harm's coming to Crypt Garden.
He's like, you see him kind of like go up to a tree and he pulls out like a piece of chalk, just kind of like draws a symbol on it, and he's like, just kind of like taps it with the chalk, and he's just like, if you follow these, it should lead you to my position. Good enough way of landmarking things, I suppose.
Yes, and subtle enough to not be obvious.
Exactly. Important to be able to skulk around the woods without people necessarily knowing that you're there. not that we spied on you on the way in, of course. It kind of gives you a smile. But we suspect that you were being watched the entire time you came into the woods, most likely. Although you were with their leader, I guess. So, you know, you were probably...
Yeah, it's also like a measure of like to keep our leader safe.
Yeah, exactly. But these are people that their entire life is dedicated to protecting a wood. And I guess they would probably be very aware of stuff going on in it, most likely.
Yeah.
Probably too aware. But I think that's how it goes. Yes. So, Rye, you're still sleeping, I guess.
Shoe.
Terra, have you woken up by this point?
Sarah is up, but they're just laying in bed, kind of rotting a little bit.
That's understandable. We got Rye just fucking snoring away. Terra, you just gave him like the performance of your lifetime and drank a bunch, so you're just like lying in, and then the two nerds are doing all the research. It's a good dynamic. I like it.
Yeah. I think Arian would go and try and wake Tara, in terms of like if we're we're gonna roll out and see what's going on with these wizards. So in splitting up. With all like the prank talk he had the night before, he's like, we don't really want to piss off the Tara this early in the day, especially if we're going to do something if we're might have to deal with some wizards. So he's going to take the gentle approach to wake her up.
I'd say as you approach Tara just gets up. They've been awake for a little bit.
Yeah. Yes, I think in going in, Aaron's like just comes in and just kind of gives an update of like, there's some wizards apparently skulking through the forest that we might be a bit worried about, so we're gonna go check them out with some help from the druid.
Okay, very well. I can do some talking. And they're just gonna quickly pack things up and just do some little stretches.
Fair enough.
I guess seeing that Aaron's waking up Tara, Uruk will probably just be like, well, just wake up whoever's still, which is only right at this point because I guess the other two are here technically, so I'll probably wake. If they're milling about, I'll tell whoever's awake about, hey, just follow the chalk signs or whatever when you're like ready to roll out or when you're ready to go.
Scraps is still up the tree.
Yeah,
he's in a different tree now.
Yeah, Jenny's going like trying to get Scraps down, and Rye, you just get woken up and you're just doing like the fucking Limmy face,
Oh God, what time is it? What do you call this?
It's like 1 in the afternoon. Here's a picture of Rye for you.
Oh God. I love how incomprehensible our session text is.
I did feel bad.
The random message for bot command that got put in the wrong spot.
Shut up, no, I didn't do that.
Very loud ice cream, the bomb alarm clock, and Libby.
God, if you even go further up, it's even more incomprehensible. Where you've got like the mushrooms blog, and then Scooby Doo posting.
Yeah, we can't forget the Scooby Doo posting. Listen, I think it's a sign of any good D&D campaign when you have a healthy shit post chat. It's very important.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's very important. Anybody that doesn't shit post while they play D&D is playing D&D at least a little bit wrong. Like you need like there needs to be like a healthy amount of tomfoolery that goes on during a D&D session. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm awake, and I'm not going to make myself look. I'm going to look like particularly dishevelled when I come out of my tent.
Oh.
Kind of like on purpose, just to annoy Terra a little.
Does I think just Tara just take a moment to look at you up and down, just shakes their head to themselves a little bit, and just moves on.
I'll smooth out one crease on my shirt, but that's it.
The
Hmm?
several other creases still remain crease. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the alcohol stain from the night before.
Mm-hmm. I'll do up one cufflink, but leave the other undone.
Yeah.
I think at this time, Tara is just going to go over to Journey and just make sure that Journey is watching Scraps.
Yeah.
And they're just going to go over to Scraps and kind of just be careful. The whole spiel.
You make sure that Scraps is looking after themselves.
And that Journey is looking after Scraps, yes.
Yeah. I suspect that Journey is doing an admirable job of taking care of. To be fair, Journey was the one that discovered and looked after Scraps in the first place, really. So
Yeah.
I suspect Journey is like the responsible older sister of the two, I guess.
But what's Scraps discovered or invented? That's the question.
Well, they were discovered skulking around inside of a trading caravan.
Right you are.
But I guess they were invented by the cats on the streets. I don't know.
I would also like to go to Journey and just like promise them that if we find a big enough bottle for a fairy, I'll get it for them.
You need like a fucking like giant like barrel or something.
You know, like the kind of thing they might build a ship in a bottle in.
That fairy was a lot bigger than a ship in a bottle. It was like, I don't know.
Well, I'll keep an eye out anyway.
We're talking like toddler sized, most likely. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh my god.
Yeah, definitely like a barrel that's required.
yeah. I mean, I think a toddler would fit in a barrel. So yeah.
I'll ask Eric if there are any spells that can make wood see through with no context.
He'll just look at you perplexed.
Worth asking.
Was it?
No response. You just look at the ground like you got told off by your supply teacher.
I don't think I have that much shame.
No, I suppose not. You're the class clown, you know. Like this is you live for getting told off by the supply teacher. Well, the four of you sync back up. You follow the symbols through the forest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We just said no.
Okay. All right, that's the end of session 5, everyone. Yeah.
We just sent a druid to die.
Tara will be taking lead, actually.
Okay, yeah, of course. These symbols are relatively clearly marked, but only because you're looking for them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, because we know what to look for, sort of thing.
if you were somebody going through these woods, you probably wouldn't pay them that much mind. But for you know these symbols now, so you follow them. Yeah.
Is this entrance we're heading towards? Is that the one that's called the orifice?
That's the one that's called the orifice. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I think you probably travel on foot for about 20 to 30 minutes, something like that. Like, it's not, I don't know if it's like Crib Garden is very big, right? But maybe more, so maybe like an hour, maybe it's like a few miles away of where you have to go. And you do, there are like scattered symbols that you follow. Eventually you come to like the edge of like a clearing of the trees. And, basically, like in this clearing, there is like you don't see a giant hole in the ground. You see like a slightly dilapidated stone fortress, like circular stone fortress. And you come across. Eventually, you do hear from the side. You hear like a hey, and you see the drow from earlier. He's not keeping his voice down too much, you notice, but he's like leaning against the tree. And he's like, "Well, I'm glad you made it."
I'll wave at him, but like an exaggerated wave.
I think he probably gives you a smile, most likely, and he's like, "I hope my symbols were not too hard to follow. You seem to get here in good time."
Yes. So, where are these people?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. They don't particularly look like how would you say, like ominous wizards. They look more like academics. I noticed. I should point something out. He kind of like gestures towards the fortress. He's like, look at the top of the fortress on the kind of the ramparts. You notice anything?
Tara's gonna look.
Yeah, go for it. Give me a perception check.
Ooh.
Are we all rolling?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to, yeah, you can all roll perception.
I'll love to. Thank you.
20, 15.
Oh my.
Advanced perception with advantage because of keen senses.
Of course. Oh my god.
Oh,
I'm sure I can beat that.
Yeah, you're over that one now. Like, just to follow up. 15,
Please,
15,
please.
20, nat 29.
Oh.
There it is. Right, I would say this. You notice the exact same thing as everybody else, which is there's nothing on top of the ramparts. There isn't anybody there. Like, from this distance, you don't see anybody. And I would say that the dragon especially sees there is nobody. And even more than that, there isn't, I think the dragon is probably somewhat in the air at this point, right? Like,
yeah.
There's nobody in that fortress, aside from 3 people standing next to a giant hole. That is what you notice. I think the druid looks at you all expectantly for an answer.
So, what do you want us to do?
Well, my point being, I don't want you to do anything. I mean, you do what you wish, but the point I was trying to make is that usually there is a guard force there, but today there's nobody on the ramparts. Nobody there. It's like the rest of the drow simply slipped away. Strange.
Yeah, that's what we saw in our notes as well.
Mm.
Is that this place is normally guarded by drow.
Very odd. Very odd. I do not really know exactly what my people are up to, but I do know that the place seems unguarded. Those 3, look, as I say, they strike me as academics more than anything. If you want to go talk to them, you can. But I think that's about. I think that's about it from my end, really. I do not plan to go any closer.
Of course. Yeah, no. Like Aaron's gonna look at everyone else and kind of go, do we go for it? And like kind of like trying to get some confirmation before he tells this guy what they plan to do.
Tara's just gonna hold out their hands and say, "I can talk to them. I can get information out of them quite easily."
Oh, Tara, don't charm them.
I'm not going to charm them, not through spell or anything, but through words and looks.
Oh, good.
I need all of you to come up to a place where you cannot be seen, but you can hear. You might catch something that they do not. I will go up there alone. I can protect myself, even if for a little bit.
Scorpion, is there like lots of long grass or anything up to the fortress, or is it pretty open?
I'm imagining it's basically like almost like a deforested area of Crypt Garden. Like it's like relatively like a lot of the trees around this area have been cut down for like clear sight lines, and this is like a somewhat rebuilt fortress. That being said, like I would say like the dragon has probably seen the overlay of this place, and it's like basically a wall around a giant hole in the ground. You could definitely probably climb your way up if you wanted to watch over, for example.
Yeah, like is it anywhere where we can like stay hidden?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
I would say it's reasonable to say that if you were to, you could wait just outside the entrance, or you could climb up on the towers, and you would probably be relatively hard to see.
The wizards are inside.
The wizards are inside, like stood next to the hole.
Mm.
Okay, that changes things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the dragon would be like, like kind of setting up sight lines, like keeping an eye on them and keeping an eye on around to like give us a clear path, and like almost like it's like I'm calling out where's easy to where we can sneak in, sort of thing.
I think
I'll start stretching and say, oh, you know what? That sounds good to me, Tara. I thought it's been a while since I've climbed anything.
I think Tara's just going to do like a quick snap of the fingers and look at Arian and say, "Can I borrow your dragon? Just for
Not really.
I just need them to sit on my shoulder."
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, he's kind of like he's very, very reluctant about this because he doesn't like it, but he kind of trusts you now, so he's willing to. So the dragon like flies down and will jump on your shoulders.
Yeah. And Tara is just going to like look at Arian and just say, "This is just for effect and for believability."
Like Arian nods, but if anyone's paying too much attention to him, they'll notice that he's kind of more in the. He's now like he's less aware and he's more in the dragon. Because he's like just a little bit worried.
Yeah. Like your kind of walking self seems a little bit out of it. You kind of
exactly.
nod, but not as readily.
I'll walk up to Arian and give him like a bit of support. I'll put a hand on their shoulder of the human self.
Okay.
Aaron like appreciates it, but it's also like he's still not going to respond as heavily because his awareness is flicked more over one way than the other.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you all ready?
I'll just nod, grin.
Yurik?
Yeah. As ready as I'm going to be. Hopefully they don't. Yeah. He seems kind of distracted at the moment and kind of like, because he can't get a good view of the wizards, he seems to be a bit apprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
Just
I try to get as much information out as I can.
Just try not to do your backing while hiding, Eric.
I'm not that. I know I look it. I'm not that old. I might even be.
Younger than
I'm probably younger than some of you.
And I think after that, Tara is going to cast Enhance Ability on themselves and give them Eagle's Splendor, which gives them an advantage on Charisma checks.
Absolutely.
So they're just going to cast a spell, and they're going to like kind of like pull their hair back if they had any, like wipe it back away from their face, and you can see that they just shine beautifully.
I'll put my hand up and look away, like it's too bright.
And they're just going to give a small nod as they stand up, straighten their clothes, and start walking out towards the castle.
Absolutely. If you would all, honestly, like, I'm gonna say, like, I don't really think you even really need to do a stealth check if you don't really want to. Like, depending on where you want to get. Like, you might need to do an athletics check to climb up the side of the building, but that's about it, really. Like,
yeah, because I'm gonna try and do that.
Yeah. I would say that you can do that. It's more a matter of. I would say, like it is made up of like relatively large stone blocks, which almost act as footholds. So this will be decently easy to climb for you, most likely. But an athletics check nonetheless, just to see if you know.
Okay, not acrobatics, so right?
Not really. Athletics is more climbing, really.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
To be honest with you,
No!
like I would say this, like, you probably dislodge a few bits of concrete and they just kind of tap on the ground. But aside from that, like, we're given enough time, you make it up there easy enough. Like, even with a 5, like, let's say, this is a building made up of large stone blocks. It's basically like a climbing frame. Like, it's it's easy enough for you to climb.
Yeah, I mean, I mess up. I'm not used to it. I'm used to climbing ships' riggings, not this.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. But even so, like, that's given you enough experience in footholds that I'm not going to say, oh yeah, you fall off. Like, you don't fall off.
I break my neck.
Yeah.
Die.
You probably, I'd say, you probably at worst dislodge a bit of stuff, but that's about it, really. I guess, do the rest of you kind of climb up as well, or do you just like wait outside the entrance, basically?
I think Aaron's definitely waiting like downstairs outside because he's not, you know, he's not doing any physical activity in this state.
Eric is not. Eric can't climb. This man's not. He's not a climber.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes you think, right, you're literally proficient in athletics, so to me it's like I would say it's more likely that if Eric tried to climb this, he probably would fall off. But you've got a lifetime experience of climbing things to some extent, like, you know. As for you, Terra, you enter through the front gates with a small dragon sat on your shoulder.
I think, yeah, there is. So it's just like essentially you go for the front gates, and it's like a big, kind of just open courtyard with the hole in the center.
Pretty much, yeah. And like the doors seem to have been like not forced open, but maybe perhaps magically opened, as far as you can tell. Like the large, there's like large kind of banded wooden doors on the front, you know, like fortress doors. And they do not seem to have been like smashed open, say, but they do look like they have been opened recently, most likely. I think you kind of approach and you hear there's one person talking and then two people who seem to be making some notes next to him. You don't hear exactly what he says. You're a little bit far away, but he seems to be talking rather loudly and rather passionately.
And I wouldn't hear them where I am, would I, Scorpio?
You could make a perception. I guess you can both make a perception check if you would like.
That sounds like we're not going to hear, but we can try. That makes it feel better.
You can try. Yeah.
Well, the dragon's also going to try.
The dragon will have a better chance of this than anyone else. Yeah.
That's 2 twos in a row.
Yeah.
15.
I think you probably catch a bit of conversations like, I must say, students, I've never seen anything quite like this. It's incredible. Yeah, that's the one part that you hear before he starts talking in a bit more hushed and a little bit more kind of in jargon, most likely.
Yeah. I think instantly, as soon as Arian is going to relay that straight to like Eric, so as like a, you know, just like a, because he's seen him be nervous about the mention of wizards, so he's just going to say, this is clearly like a master and 2 students come out for some sort of studying expedition.
I would say that as you get closer, Terra and the dragon especially, and probably from up here, Rye, you see that the central figure is a tiefling. He's wearing like proper kind of university lecturer garb. He has like crimson skin, curved horns. You can't really see his face from here though, but you know that he's a tiefling from this distance. I would also say you note this. As you get closer to the hole in the center, you notice that there seems to be like a shimmering like light above the hole, as far as you can tell. Again, you would need to get a little bit close to actually examine what this is, but you notice it regardless. How stealthy are you attempting to be, Terra?
Terra's not being stealthy at all.
I assumed you weren't. Like, I think at this point you're probably like close enough that they would probably hear you, right? I would say there are 2 younger people next to him. I would say probably late teenagers. One seems to instinctively like raise a hand, and the other seems to like kind of move behind the tiefling. And the tiefling's like, what's the matter now? And he turns around and sees you approach, like, oh, kind of eyes you up for a second and goes, hello, friend. You don't look like a drow.
And Terra just is crossed arms, just looking like a mildly upset. It's kind of like the air that they're giving off right now. Terra Tara is then going to speak up and say, "Yes, well, what are you doing here, you three?"
He kind of eyes you up for a second. If you'd like to give me just a little persuasion check, coming in a little bit on the...
Absolutely.
You're coming a bit on the suspicious side, right? Yeah, 20. I think the guy kind of seems a little bit taken aback by the attitude, but I think he's probably like, he probably takes a step forwards, like, well, presumably the same reason that you're here. We're investigating the magical surge in the area. No? You look academic to me. You're not from...
No.
No? Huh.
I am here as protector of this grove, as appointed by the circle that guards it.
Ah. He probably...
And here we have a hole to the Underdark that is surrounded by a wall that is currently not guarded anymore. And yet here we find 3 people who did not ask.
I was unaware that we were not told of any procedures or peoples to talk to. Besides, we have not really trapped much of the forest. We did apparate here to some extent. Please, maybe we can sort the misunderstanding out. I wouldn't wish to step on anybody's toes now. He's like, students, you just stand and make some notes, okay? He probably walks towards you and presses like a small scroll of identification, which is sort of like, it identifies him by name as Professor Irving Devine of Waterdeep College. He's like,
Does Tara recognize the name?
No, it doesn't ring any bells.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But he's like, my name is Irving Devine. I am a professor at Waterdeep College. We are here essentially there was a large surge of magic in the area, specifically originating from that entrance to the Underdark over there. So we have been tasked with at least trying to make some nominal findings. I brought a couple of students on a field trip of sorts to kind of help out. We mean no offense and no harm. We will not cause any issues to the forest. I believe that you might agree that this fortress itself is a bit of a blight on the forest anyway. I was unaware that it was guarded until this moment, though. I didn't see anybody on my way in.
Tara would like to make an insight check about that.
Go for it.
Unfortunately, just normal.
16, 18. He's like, it rings true. You don't think that this guy is lying to you. You don't see any dead bodies or anything, right? You don't see any disappeared people. It looks empty. The only thing that really struck you on the way in was the fact that the door was open. That's about it.
Tara's just gonna look back and look around and say, "It is worrying. I will report to my higher ups about this."
Well, of course. Are you? You say you're protector of this place. What do you know of this entrance to the Underdark? Anything?
They are going to sort of idly walk towards it and just kind of like slowly walk circles around it.
You see that there is like, you kind of look down, and as I say, the entire area is covered by this like orange-like sheen above it. It's like, it's like an orange kind of field above the hole. It looks like a barrier of some description. There is also like, as you kind of go around, you find presumably where the area that you would start moving down would be. There is like a wooden platform and a set of steps leading downwards, like basically kind of like a spiral, almost like a spiral staircase of wooden platforms that goes down the hole. It seems like it was, created / built, right?
Tara's just gonna like take 1 second to look at that and just look away immediately, and they say, all we know is that this entrance has been here for quite a long time.
Oh,
Almost
yes.
as long as this castle.
Oh, most likely far, far, far longer than the castle. He adds, he's like, from my understanding, the most openings to the Underdark are naturally formed. Some made during the spell plague, some closed, some open, but something this large, it must have been here for probably hundreds or thousands of years, most likely. This fortress doesn't look too old to me.
You'd be surprised. Time looks strange here.
That is true.
You're close to the Fae. The barrier is very thin.
True enough. I have not really considered much about the fair. I heard some stories about Crypt Garden. I'm aware that there were a lot of old settlements by the elves here, but this doesn't look particularly elvish to me. It looks more modern. It kind of like points to the brickwork, like, it's correct, true, but it doesn't look ancient to me. Still, if you're the protector of Crypt Garden, you probably know better than I do. I suspect I could learn a hell of a lot more from you than you might be able to learn from me.
Well, I came here mostly to learn about you and why you are here encroaching on this, something that we have guarded for years and years.
Well, he looks somewhat nervous, probably, but he's like, you do see the giant orange barrier over the hole, yes?
I do. And we are aware of this.
I suppose I'm not too familiar with the layman understanding of wardings. Listen, I operate as the professor of warding magic at the College of Waterdeep. This is a ward, a barrier, and it's recent. What do you know of wards, barriers?
To be honest, not much. I'm much more of a fighter. And they kind of like put their hand on the rapier.
No, no need for that. As I say, we mean no offense. We will abscond if you wish for us to abscond, but there is a lot to be. Okay, let me put it this way. It's very rare that there is a surge of magic that is detectable from Waterdeep, outside of Waterdeep itself. Rarer still when it's a few hundred miles away. We have some ability to track large magical effects, right? This is on a scale unprecedented. I've seen wards cover around 30 feet of area, stopping anything going in and out. This hole is, I wouldn't be able to calculate the circumference off the top of my head, but it's at least, maybe 500, 600 feet wide. Like, a warding spell of this kind of level, have you heard of a mythal before? Perhaps not. Kind of goes back to...
Can't say that they have.
Well, put it this way. A barrier this large, we've not seen anything on the likes of this outside of, like, ancient civilizations for hundreds upon hundreds of years. This is unprecedented. This is a huge discovery. As such, as a professor of and a seeker of knowledge and understanding, it is my sworn duty to investigate. No?
And what do you expect that it is protecting or warding against?
Now, that is a good academic question. I would have to say it's either keeping something in or perhaps keeping something out. More likely the latter. You might note if you attempt to walk down those stairs. Impossible. I'm not able to pass through it. You can try for yourself if you wish. Perhaps. We do not necessarily know the conditions upon this ward. Wards are often built with conditions built in. But
I think Tara, like, while he's talking, is going to, like, cautiously and a bit worriedly look at it, but they're going to pick up a stone and just kick it. Or just kick a stone towards the entrance.
I think you noticed the stone just drop straight through.
Looks fine to me.
Ah, yes, but have you attempted walking on it? Not the bit, not above the giant drop. I wouldn't recommend that. But there is an area. He kind of points to like the kind of rigging leading down. It's like, just attempt to walk down one of those stairs for me. You'll see what I mean.
Tara's just gonna roll their eyes, deep breath in, and just try to walk down the stairs.
You can't. It's like you're walking. You kind of walk above the stairs. It's like solid ground that you're walking on right now.
I'm just gonna poke it with the rapier.
I would say that your rapier does not go through.
Interesting.
It would suggest some form of ward against armors, weapons, and certain peoples, including myself. My students have attempted to go down as well. No luck. So I suspect perhaps entrance is barred to everybody. I don't really know. We can't tell at a glance, but we can tell that this is this would require either a large count of very powerful wizards, or perhaps something else entirely. Hard to tell.
Scorpio?
Yes.
How high up am I?
You're probably like, I don't know, how high do you think like a tower on a like little fortress would be? Like
30, 40 feet high.
30, 40 feet, something like that, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Would it hurt if I jumped from that distance?
Yes. Yeah,
Yes.
it would.
You know,
I think Tara is going to just, after just like a little pause, they're going to look the professor up and down, look at the students.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to, while looking at the students, I can say, what are your names?
The students. Hang on.
you gotta look at their name badges.
Yeah, let me just read their name badges real quick. Give me a second. You can't ask the DM for names for things. That's just cruel.
You're either provided names or we make up nicknames. Those are the options.
I believe.
Yep.
I believe the one who seemed a little bit more ready to fight is probably the first to speak. He doesn't seem particularly like he seems to have like eased up a bit. He identifies himself as Aaron, and the other one. The other one, the slightly more diminutive, slightly smaller and a bit more nervous one, is still kind of keeping a bit of a distance from you and identifies himself as Stan.
And you learn under this, Irving?
I think Aaron's going on to speak, and he's like, Aaron is our professor at the College of Waterdeep.
And I think, after hearing it, they're going to kind of put their hand out to their shoulder for the pseudo-dragon to walk on. Kind of like a bird. Whenever a bird, so putting your hand out.
Yeah.
Do they take it?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're going to like carefully bring it into front of their face. And they're going to say, do you find these answers satisfactory? And they're going to like give a little indication to nod.
The dragon's gonna like eye them up again.
Yeah.
Like look them down, like properly like assess them.
Yeah.
To build like the mysterious nature of this, and then slowly nod at the end.
I think.
Fine.
I think you noticed this. I think Irving had probably been talking to you this whole time, hadn't even noticed the pseudo dragon on your shoulder. And as you do this, like you notice, like the professor especially, his eyes fucking light up looking at this, and he's like, "That's a pseudo dragon? Oh my goodness!"
Tara, it just is no expression on the face. Just gonna look at them with her eyes. A little bit of daggers. Gonna sigh and just say, "You may stay here to study,
Very well.
but all of your reportings go back to our circle first, and then you may leave from there.
Okay.
If there is something dangerous in my forest, then it is something that I should know. Report back there, the information will get to me.
He kind of looks at you like, very well. Might we have a little bit? I mean, I have about as much research as I've told you. We could, if you wish, we wouldn't mind a guide through the forest.
We can provide that. And I think at this point, Tara is just going to put the pseudo dragon back on his shoulder and just going to clap twice very loudly, and then say to everybody else, "You can come out now. They're no threat."
I think you did see instantly that like dragon would take off from your shoulder when you're calling in, and like Arian comes in with the dragon kind of joins him as soon as he's visible.
I think
Eric's probably a bit behind that. He's still coming in, but he's skulking towards the back still.
I think seeing like a group of you come out is probably a little bit startling for the already scared student. But I think the professor just kind of gives you all a smile, basically. Like,
I'll climb down the wall.
My goodness, you're in the walls and everything. Oh, this is quite something.
Yes, we always come prepared.
Hey, he holds his hand up. He's like, I will not begrudge a bit of protection, especially in sacred lands. I apologize if our trespass caused concern. As I say, purely academic.
Yeah, we just had an incident earlier that was a bit of an issue, so we just wanted to make sure that it wasn't any more follow-up on that, but you seem to not be associated.
He looks at, I think he eyes you, Ulrich, and immediately seems to clock you, and he's like, "Stay. Are you familiar with the arcane?"
Yeah, I've got a fair bit of experience. Probably nowhere near as much as you, but some.
I wouldn't be sure about that. I may be an expert in warding magic, but everything else. I'm sorry, I shouldn't look at people and instantly assume that they are academics or arcane, but you just have the edge to you, you know what I mean? You're the kind of person I take on as a student. You'd say this guy's about the same age as you, Eric. He doesn't look very old.
Wait, how? Because Eric looks a lot old from like the profile picture. He is meant to look older than he is.
Yeah.
Like Eric looks like Eric is late 20s, but he probably looks like
30.
late 30s, 40s. Yeah,
I would say this: like he probably doesn't. He probably doesn't immediately clock that you are like. You know, I don't think he seems to even really be thinking in terms of age, right? But you look at him and you're like, this guy's probably late 20s. He does not seem like a very old professor. But he has like a very kind of, as I say, he's a tiefling, crimson skin, like curving back horns, these kind of sharp looking eyes. He's snappily dressed and he seems to have a kind of warm demeanor about him, really. He's like, tell me, I think he probably looks at Arian as well, and he's just like, amongst your group, who is the more arcane proficient? I suppose would be the word.
I would say probably I am. Arian's also quite good, but I might just win out slightly.
Okay. He kind of like gestures you to come a bit closer. He's like, perhaps we could share findings or information. I would be keen. Come and have a look at this.
Other opinions are always good. So was it the? I assume he'll point because I imagine I can see it from this distance.
He points out the same thing that he points out to. He basically recounts what he recounts to Terra, and he's like, "What do you make of it? Are you familiar with Miffles?"
Am I? Arcana check, I'm guessing.
Yeah, go for it. I'd say Arian as well.
I will say, while Tara and Uring, or not Tara, while Ulrich and Uring, are interacting, Tara will be send a message to Ulrich, and basically saying, "I know how uncomfortable you are being questioned. If you ever need him to stop talking, signal me, and I'll make him stop."
He'll just like give you a small, just like a nod that he's acknowledged what you've messaged him and he's
Yeah.
heard it.
I'd say this: both of you, being Arcana proficient, you have this. Miffles are incredibly bread and butter type stuff. Really, like you would not be able, you understand enough about miffles to know that in a million years you probably wouldn't be able to create a miffle on your own. Like a miffle is basically like almost like city scale protection from like outside influences, and that there is a number of cities throughout the Sword Coast, like ancient cities, who have the name Myth something, and that is because they are protected by like an ancient miffle. This is like from the time of like the ancient elves and dwarves type thing. You look like just the shit. Like I would say this as well, Arian. Like just on the slightly higher check, you look at this. You reckon the same thing that this guy reckons, which is this size of warding magic is kind of unprecedented or unheard of today. This is crazy to look at. This is like you can understand why a guy who's specialized in warding is basically like his wet dream. Basically, looking at this thing, like it's huge over this kind of like hole in the ground. Basically, you're also aware of like miffles sometimes have like certain kind of rules baked into the spell, pretty much, and then it would either require like a large amount of very high level spellcasters to do something like this, or something incredibly powerful to power it. Something this size at the very least.
Yeah.
Like to give you a comparison, there is a I think it's a 6th level spell where for a minute you create like a 10-foot sphere of invulnerability on yourself, right?
Yes.
This is like
That as
that.
well.
This is like that, but on like a far, far, far larger macro scale, right? Like, and that's a 6th level spell. So it gives some idea of whatever the fuck this is being quite powerful.
So this is like unachievable levels of magic, sort of thing.
Pretty much, yeah. You're familiar enough with the fact that at some point spellcasters had a very, very large mastery of the weave, and that limits were imposed on spell like the weave after.
Yeah, the weave kind of was restricted at a certain point to make it what's the word for it? To like make it more equitable, to stop like the ability of people to like flatten cities and shit, right?
You would be at least vaguely familiar of tales of the Neverese, right? Like,
yeah,
Karthus's folly is perhaps not known by the layman, but anyone that's read enough magical books has probably heard of Karthus's folly and what followed from that. Even if it was like a few thousand years ago, it'd be like, it's one of those world-shaping events that most wizards would know, at least to some extent.
or if you're an elf, it's like your great granddad was around for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, literally. I mean, the Neverese are basically just copying magic from the elves anyway. So, but yeah, this thing is it's kind of it's awe-striking to look at this thing, really.
Tara is being scary bodyguard.
I think Arian's like kind of saying, "Oh, this is I'm not." My understanding, that no one's been able to craft something of this in this style for thousands of years.
Exactly. He like nods enthusiastically. He's like.
So I think Urt will probably chime in as he's nodding, as like someone wonder how many shortcuts they used to get here, and whatever conditions or whatever because if something could really perform this feat of magic without limitations, then I feel like it'd be a bit more known, or I don't know. I feel like there would be much more of consequence happening than one large miffle created.
Yeah.
I feel there might be restrictions or conditions that we probably might not know, especially considering he'll recall the journals and be like, from what I understand is that this was not here. This might not have been here until recently.
I think the guy nods and he's like, so the reason that we are here is that we detected a surge of magic within literally like the last couple of days. This is, by my understanding, this is as recent as it can possibly get. And as you say, by our understanding, this was an open hole only a few days ago. Quite fascinating, isn't it? Who could have made something like this, and why?
I think Arian's gonna like walk up to it and like he's gonna try and like using the dragon to try and like cast some magic through it, like testing out various cantrips to see if like you can get things to appear on the other side. We'll go through it.
I would say this: anything that you attempt cantrip wise, especially if it's something trying to hit it, it just bounces off. If it's something that tries to appear on the other side, it just doesn't work.
Yes, even like he's trying to like cast light the other side. He's trying to have mage hand pass through it. Yeah. All these things just to like confirm that he's right about what's going on, sort of thing. It's more of like for him, his own benefit.
In the same way that you can't cast magic through a wall, you cannot seem to cast magic through this wall either. This barrier seems to block it entirely, even though you can see it. I don't think you can cast magic through a window either, to be fair.
I think at this point, seeing that they're testing it, not Guido, I did it this time. Eric will, he'll probably do the thing where he, seeing that the spells don't go through, he'll probably try and like see what happens when he stands near the stairs. I assume he's still above the barrier.
Yeah. You basically walk a little bit and you realize you are just hovering above it. You are basically, it's like walking on a piece of glass above this thing, basically.
So as discreetly as possible, he's probably going to crouch down, like he's going to go stand back on the solid ground, crouch down, and he's going to strike the barrier with the crystal.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
That is an interesting choice of action.
I think as well as part of that, he, like Arian's, although because Mage Hand's only £5, his idea is that he's more going to have it ready to like hold him, so he doesn't like teeter over an edge if there's backlash.
I would say this.
Yeah, but it would be sleight of hand to do it discreetly. So my idea is that it's obviously in like the backpack. Is that I'm going to like the backpack down's on like my left. Say the wizards are on my left. Just put my backpack down to the left and pull something out of the backpack and just tap it, basically like obscured from their view is the idea, so they just don't see the full extent of it.
Oh, so you're not like slamming it into it then? You're like tapping.
No, it's like
I was envisioning a full-on slam.
Yeah, so was
it's not like full-on slam. It's like at the edge, and it's just like a kind of like a hammer and chisel kind of tap, where it's like it's like firm, but it's not like I'm trying to break both things. It's like
I would say
just a solid strike.
I would say this: you basically like you touch the edge of the crystal to this thing, I would say this: what you notice is that it kind of repels itself from it like a magnet, basically. Like I would say if you were to try to strike it, it would have just bounced off. But since you just kind of like tap it, it kind of just exits your hand and just kind of like almost hovers above it, kind of like a magnet would. You notice there is like a small internal glow coming from it as you do as well. But it doesn't seem to have much more of an impact on it than that, most likely. I would say that it's like if you want to do this without the guys noticing, do like a sleight of hand, I guess. But otherwise,
13.
I think on a 13, they probably aren't paying as much. They're probably I think he's probably caught up talking to Arian at this point, so he doesn't notice you doing it.
Yeah, like I imagine I'm also like subtly trying to, keep the chat going, so they're not fully paying attention, giving Eric a bit of leeway.
Yeah, I was going to say, what were you thinking of doing, Draken? By the way, I know you chimed in a second ago.
I was just thinking of just walking to the direct center and having a look down.
You can absolutely do that, yeah, if you would like.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to. So it just looked like a really, really deep hole where I can't see the bottom, I guess.
Literally, you walk on it. You walk all the way. Like you don't walk all the way to the center, right? Because the center is like quite far away. But you walk and walk and walk, and you notice like the bits around the edgings are no longer below you, and it's just pitch blackness down there. And you're just standing above it, basically. It gives you a horrible pit in your stomach, but you don't fall to your death. So
I like the thrill.
yeah.
The worst version of the glass bridges.
It's like those fucking glass. It's like those fucking like glass elevators or whatever.
Oh yeah, Jesus, yeah.
I will.
Can I just flip my coin once? See if it comes up heads or tails. I'm not gonna like force the outcome.
You definitely can.
Yeah.
Roll a 1 and 2. Roll it.
Okay.
Heads.
I'm gonna call it heads. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump.
Well, jump on the thing.
Yeah.
You go. You just land on it. It's ground. It's solid. It doesn't break under your weight or anything like that. It's not like you hear cracks or anything. This thing is like harder than anything you could have ever imagined, most likely.
Yeah. I'm just a thrill seeker. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I will say, as Ulrich is like tapping, Terra will make their way over to them and just kind of crouch down next to them and keeping an eye on the 3. They're going to say, what if this is the tree protecting itself? Their timeline aligns from when we cured the grove. Maybe this appeared then.
I'm definitely possible, but I'm more thinking that if this is because he'll probably be a bit less secretive now because he's probably just getting a bit more lost in the work. He'll probably place the crystal on top of the barrier and show that it's got this weird property where it's the way it repels and interacts with this. Obviously, I think indicates that the source of any power that was in this crystal could potentially be somewhat related to what's down there. And considering we saw a massive amount of energy from the weave being drained from the forest, maybe it's what was happening in the forest was absorbing power to power this, or at least somewhat. Maybe there's other. He'll probably with that pick up the crystal and then walk over to the Irving and just be like, was there any other sources of large magical disruption that you noticed in recent days?
He's like, it's curious that you mentioned that. There was a smaller amount, surge within the forest, but not enough for us to check it out. Although I did wonder if the two were connected. He kind of looks to Terrence, you mentioned you were dealing with some kind of disruption in the forest yourself, right? Perhaps.
Yes.
Perhaps we could share notes. It were.
Well, was there anything more outside of the forest, or was it most of it just seemed localized here?
There are blips of magic all over the place, but nothing that really shows up on our kind of. How would I describe it? Our ability to sort of scry magic on a kind of macro level is quite impressive, if I do say, but. It's a sensitive piece of equipment, and we kind of tend to filter out a lot of smaller magical disturbances. This one was noticeably big, and I'd say that really the only one of any note would be around that area. Yes.
Can I walk up to this group now and just say they mentioned drow guarding the place?
Yes.
Where do you think they've gone?
Well.
Because if this thing shut unexpectedly, you'd think there'd be a couple of drow locked outside.
It's a fine theory. Perhaps the drow are somehow involved. Perhaps they went down before closing the door, as it were. Not entirely sure.
Yeah, because our understanding is that there were drow holding this area until recently. So we'd be surprised they'd have had time to get in if there was a sudden magic. This suddenly sprang into being.
Well, the drow are fairly famous in terms of powerful mages. In fact, it's my understanding that from birth, a lot of them are sort of trained in the act of the arcane much more than a lot of other people. A good curriculum, if you ask me. But regardless, well, could well be the handiwork of the drow. Not entirely sure why, though. Curious. You know, it reminds me of something else. Now that I think about it, I have heard of other Underdark entrances being collapsed, though not in this level, not covered over by a ward of this level. A bit more sort of, shall we say, manual and less sophisticated, more collapsing of tunnels using explosives sort of thing. Not entirely sure what to make of it, really. This is different, though. In my reckoning, this is different. Perhaps trying something new, I suppose.
Tara wants to try something.
Yeah?
They sort of want to test out their theory on whether or not this is the forest's doing.
Okay.
So, essentially what they're going to do is they're going to go up to the stairway. They're going to, sit and cross their legs and kind of, get comfortable and not really knowing what to do. They're just going to close their eyes and listen to the wind. And they're going to put their hands on the barrier.
It's, I would say you get a very weird kind of, give me a perception check, I think.
Where did it go? There it is.
I would say even on a 6, you don't really feel like you discern anything useful, but the last time you felt you feel this kind of weird, almost whirling feeling around you, and the last time you felt that was when you were trying to feel for your family. Something about the magic of this just strikes you as wild, really. But you don't feel like this. I don't know. I think on a 6, you're not really sure what to make of any of this.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay. I think just Tara's gonna get up and kind of just rub their hands and rub the feeling out of their hands. Just looking a little disgusted at it.
You would have to say, if you were to say anything about this, it feels as far as natural as you can possibly get, whatever this is. There is a large arcane hum coming from it, to some extent. It's like a power substation, standing near that. Being around this thing fucking gives you goosebumps.
I think to as a final thing to try, Aaron's gonna pull out his new wand. Thinking, because this is this is very, very natural. It's 1,000 years old. All these sort of things. It's the only thing he can think that might have a different interaction, and he goes to lightly touch the.
I would say that you notice you touch the wand to it, and the wand seems to kind of spring vines which attempt to kind of spread, and they just kind of flatten against the barrier, as far as you can tell. They do not reach downwards. They seem to be just as blocked as you are.
Yeah. Yes, this is it's kind of confirming what he was thinking in terms of he thinks that this wouldn't have done anything, but it's the only other sort of magical object he's got to try this with.
Absolutely.
And I'll also try one thing with my magical object. I'm just gonna drop my coin and see if it passes through.
I will say that as you drop your coin, it just kind of disappears from sight and reappears in your sleeve.
I'm going to lean down closer to the barrier and drop it right next to the barrier.
You place the coin, and it just sits on top of the barrier, and then disappears and goes back into your sleeve.
I'm going to stand up and start whistling and pretend nothing happened.
I mean, you're just experimenting. You can't be embarrassed about that.
You know.
Oh,
Does Tara notice
Tara would probably.
Rise embarrassment?
I think Tara might notice Rise embarrassment. You could insight.
No,
Yeah,
contested roll.
Yeah, deception,
Okay.
deception, insight. I think.
Deception. Come on, I'm whistling. It's got to be a performance.
No. This is you lying. To,
That.
Oh my god. That is an embarrassed looking rogue.
I've been rolling like shit this whole session.
At least we've not had any like. If it was a combat, it'd feel so much worse. So
Yeah.
And Tara just goes back to the scary bodyguard duties. Looking scary.
I have to use the toilet. I'll be right back.
Yeah,
Have fun, be safe.
We can take a 2-3
drown.
minutes. We can take a 2-3 minute break.
No.
I'll be right back as well. Let's take a minute.
Alright.
yeah, cool. See you in a minute.
My mute hockey doesn't work. Why?
No.
Arathon.
Oh.
Hey.
Hey. Hey.
Hi.
Hi!
Howdy.
Return.
Oh.
YouTube really is trying to fucking scare me. What does this mean?
It's the MacGuffin that's at the bottom of the Underdark.
It's the most valuable thing.
The most valuable thing.
The most
Oh,
valuable.
God. I wonder if this is going to be like the book version of Howl's Moving Castle, where like the magical other world is just Wales. We get to the bottom of the Underdark, and it's just like an actual YouTube Skibbity toilet, which everyone wants.
Oh my god.
You press the you're in the Howl's Moving Castle and you move the switch to like purple and it takes you into the Underdark, and you move it to like green and it takes you to the Feywild.
If I ever get to like level 20, I'll use everything I have to make that real.
You definitely could. You definitely could make that real. I'm like 99%. It would be several 100,000 gold, but you could definitely do it.
I would. I'm gonna like buy like a euro on the ticket.
I mean, fun
the equivalent.
piece of trivia for you is that like a lot of cities in like this plane itself have like teleportation circles, so you can create like permanent links between locations technically. Those portals are only really one way, and they usually serve as like destinations, I think. But still, like you know, so you can make a door that just casts like fucking I can't remember what the spell's called. Like I can't remember what it's called. It's like
Plane shift's different, isn't it?
not plane shift.
Plane shift's different.
So it's,
Gate is one of them.
Yeah,
I think.
it might. I think gate is a bit higher level. I think it's like It's like
Yeah, gate is the 9th level. Like, that's like the Giga one.
I think the one I'm thinking of is I think it's arcane. Might be Arcane Gate or something else. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But there is like a.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's just a lot of weird spells. It might be it's teleportation.
Teleportation circle.
Which is
yeah, that's the one.
yeah. You create you can create a permanent teleportation circle by casting the same spell in the same location every day for a year.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a lot of weird spells like that where it's like if you cast a spell every day for a year or like for 30 days, it's just permanent.
Yeah, and to be fair, those are destination circles. Like that's a destination. It's a bit like. If anyone's ever played RuneScape, it's like the fairy rings in RuneScape. That's a destination that you can dial into. Like, you can't use it as a second. You can't like go through that teleportation circle somewhere else. You would need to cast teleportation circle to go somewhere else. I think. But yeah.
There's so also for teleportation circle, there's got to be the other corresponding. You can't just make one and be like it goes here. You've also got to have been to the other place.
Yeah.
God, poor fucking wizard, man. You gotta write that other portal and then trek like halfway across the world to write the other one.
I kind of imagine it like most popular temples will have like a circle that they have paid somebody to make or something. Like most cities will have one.
If a city has been around for like a significant amount of time, it's probably just been there for a while.
Like I think with the spell plague, those might have gone away and got rebuilt in the last couple of 100 years or something. But like anywhere with enough money going through it has probably got a teleportation circle. And at which point, I kind of imagine it like they're just like, all right, here's our phone number. Write this down on a scroll and get someone to cast a level 5 spell to take you there. It's a teleportation network that requires somebody to cast a 5th level spell somewhere along the way.
If we go to the Waterdeep and they've got the yellow pages there.
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's the yellow pages of this is a teleportation circle.
It's more like an airport, like the world's most. It's just like because there'll just be a dude who has the skills to cast the spell, and you go, "Boss man, get me here," and he'll be like, "This place." Either he'll be like, "Sure, this thing," and then he'll just because it opens a portal that like multiple things can go through.
Yeah.
And
I'll be delayed like 2 hours, and I'll lose my luggage.
Oh my god, just like me.
Yeah, someone else has teleported you with your luggage for some reason.
Yeah. I have to teleport the luggage trolley separately.
What do you mean my luggage is in Baldur's Gate? No.
So, yeah, Gate is only the creatures, and it lasts for 1 round. I think Arcane Gate lasts for 10 minutes. So if you've got to get luggage through it all, it's got to be Arcane Gate. Extra money, boss.
I love all of these fucking really. I love how much teleportation magic there is in 5e.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it's good to incorporate a fast travel system of some description.
Yeah.
Right? Like ultimately, that's the exact kind of shit that wizards would be using, right? Like wizards just like making shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's in 5e. It might be with teleport, but I do like the art. Oh yeah, it is in 5e. Where for like the teleport spell, it goes based off like memory and stuff.
Yeah.
So like, if
Yeah.
you don't know where you're going, you just like fuck up and you just end up somewhere else. I do like this one for its false destination, which gives you a 50-50 chance. One side of it is you end in a similar area, the other is a mishap. It's just like, oops.
Oh no, you just wind up somewhere else entirely. Oh whoops!
Yup.
You're in the 9th plane of Avernus, dickhead. Oh no!
Ooh.
Oh.
The ultimate gap year spell.
Oh, I don't even care where I wind up. Oh no, I wound up in like Guantanamo. Oh shit!
Or like St. David's, Wales.
Oh no, I got
End
teleported.
up in a maze spell.
I was trying to go to Ibiza and I wound up in fucking the Isle of Wight. No. Anyway.
You're just in the middle of the Saharan desert with like no equipment. You're like fully ready, like you're party ready for Ibiza, and you're not.
You've got the drinks cooler, and that keeps you going for about a day. Like, right. Well,
Yes.
yeah, Dungeons and Dragons,
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, Dozing and Dragons.
Dozing and Dragons.
Let's go.
So,
Well, Tara's being on scary guard dog duty.
How scary is Terra really? I thought they're meant to be like really pretty.
They are very pretty, but they're also, which I don't know if I ever said, but they're also very buff.
They're like chiseled as fuck. They're not.
Yeah.
The thing is, like we were talking about this, right? Like, Terra is not physically strong. They just look physically strong. You got literally chiseled for this. Just
So fairly strong, 27.
What is this roll? Just a second.
How is
Okay.
how like basically how good a bodyguard they're acting.
I mean,
Yeah,
to
they have
be fair,
advantage.
the professor is less nervous of you because he's spoken to you, but I would say like the more nervous disposition student looks scared shitless.
That's the idea. The idea is to scare them.
Yeah, the professor seems a lot less bothered to some extent.
Yeah. I think kind of thinking to themselves, Tara, what is Eric doing? Is Eric talking to the professor?
I believe I was, yeah.
I think during a moment of like reprieve, or at least like a little bit of downtime, Tara is going to send another message and say, should we show them the tree?
Yes, it might be linked to the things they detected.
Yeah, and I feel, yeah, just to get with that message, Eric will probably just be like, just think and just be like, well, as much as we could stay here, I don't think there's much more we can investigate with this. It seems, we are, again, if anything important was on this, it might be on the other side, so, we feel, blocked off from this, so it might be, worthwhile to investigate the, other magical sources that you located earlier, because I believe it might be related.
Well, if you have some idea of what that might be, we would certainly appreciate a guide of some description. Overly familiar with this forest, I'm afraid.
From our journeys, it's not overly dangerous, so should be fine.
Yeah, well, that's good. Who better to guide us through it than the protectors of it, no? Students, kind of looks to them both, like, it's kind of like, get your notes in order. I think we have ourselves a long field day ahead.
And Tara's just gonna walk off and wait for them at the edge of the grove. Or for them at the edge of the clearing, not the grove.
Yeah, I'll go and walk up and join Terra.
I think Aaron's going to be like a little bit like, go and help the students out a little bit, but not with his actual hands, but with like magic, clean some stuff up, like put some to help them with mage hand and things like that, just to like help them get on with it. Because like Arian looks about the age of them, but he is like 120 years old.
Oh.
He's a
is
that what I? Oh, is he? Oh no, what did I say?
I thought he was younger.
No shit, no, he's 16. I'm thinking of the last character. I'm thinking of my goddamn Pathfinder elf. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh.
It's my Pathfinder elf, whose both parents were half elves, and he became a full elf.
I was gonna say that I thought you just aged 100 years. Yeah.
Yeah, no, wrong character.
I think you probably are their age, to be honest. I think the professor probably sticks close to you, Ulrich, and just kind of like goes like, I say, it's quite a place, isn't it? What school do you hail from, friend? You're of Waterdeep. I've seen you around before. Did we go to the same classes?
No, not Waterdeep. I was more trained by a mentor. So pretty exclusive tutelage, not a large class.
Oh, say. Who's the name of your mentor, if you mind me asking?
It's something he's not particularly fond of sharing. He doesn't like a lot of people prying into his works and stuff. Pretty secretive.
Oh, of course. He kind of raised his hand and is like, don't worry, I've met a few professors like that. Of course. I won't pry. Would be incorrect to force a student to rat on his mentor, right? Still,
yeah.
It is nice to meet another in the field. Suppose you've had any interest in warding spells in your time?
More useful field magics, the alarms, the protections, but mostly I focused on what my mentor was teaching me was conjuration transport mostly. It is quite an undervalued, well, not undervalued, but seems to be becoming less and less common that people understand the magics they use for the transport rather than just utilizing it.
Yes, it's a bit of a shame, the lack of interest in academics and only the outcomes, I suppose. He noticeably perks up when you mentioned the word alarm, and he's like, "Oh, you said you're a user of the alarm spell. Actually, based an entire dissertation on that."
Oh God!
He made the sonic boom do extra loud alarm clock and bed shaker.
It's funny you mentioned that. I made alarm, but really loud.
He's a really heavy sleeper. He has to.
Wouldn't it be more practical to have an alarm that can go to multiple people? Rather than having it be audible, but be a mental alarm to multiple people, rather than being very loud. Because from my uses of it, oftentimes an alarm is good for waking everyone up, but it also alerts a lot of things around you.
I should point out I was joking, by the way, in that he didn't make a very loud alarm. He hasn't said...
He did.
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, it's in now.
Put it in the notes.
Listen, he hasn't started talking about it yet.
It's in the notes.
Let me make something clear, okay? I'm running this rodeo, okay? And
Sorry, boss man, it's collaborative storytelling.
I'm sorry, bitch. We railroading today, and my
You had your first Zalkar the Plague
Yeah.
Lord moment.
listen.
The will of the party is disagreed.
This is a real Zalkar the Plague Lord moment. Listen, what I was going to say is, he mentions that he wrote his dissertation on alarm and then stopped there in that kind of way that, like, an academic is like, ask me about my dissertation.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like, he hasn't mentioned what it is yet.
But yeah, instead of it, Uruk will probably be like, and really, it's quite a common spell. Like, I'm surprised that you managed to, not saying it's simple by any means, but with a lot of the magics and research I do, I find it difficult to fill up what would be an entire paper for one thing. It tends to be more of a collection and their associations.
Well, true as that may be, I had about a year and I really had to kind of shove it in, as it were. I might have got a bit. I might have gotten. I might have gotten a little bit distracted and wrote my dissertation at the last moment, but I did a number of small experiments on variations of the spell. It's a fairly common thing people do in their dissertations, right?
I can't say I've done much assessed writing.
Trust me, you've not missed out on much.
I can imagine.
Yeah, I did experiment with making a very loud version of alarm.
Wouldn't it be more useful that if it was an alarm multiple people could hear mentally, rather than it just being loud? I found often with the sound, it can just alert more things to where you are if you want trying to be a bit quieter.
I wondered about that, although admittedly I feel like to kind of breach the mental defenses of other people's minds, I would need a bit more of an expertise in psionics, which I don't really have. I did attempt to make a somewhat protective alarm ward that actually had a physical kind of element to it, but that didn't really work out either. All I could really do was make it so that it grew spikes if an intruder walked into it and they stepped on basically a caltrop. In which case, I find that you often don't need the noisy alarm because the person who stepped on the caltrop tends to scream. It wasn't. I have to admit, it was not my best experimentation. But I definitely
No, but I can see that being the origin of that being a much more common and practical alarm for those who don't practice magic.
Yes, I suppose the magical element at that point probably does become a bit pointless. That's basically what my professor said, but hey, I'm still working at the College of Waterdeep, so I think I've done a better job than he did.
Why? What happened to him?
Oh, it was a rather nasty teleportation accident. He was dismissed with very quick regard. Also, something about buying illegal manuscripts from Candlekeep.
Risky business.
Yes, Thank you, Drekken, for quoting "I'll just keep shoving it all in." That's great. I'm glad.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely. It's a risky business. I was unaware that I thought the people in Candlekeep were quite protective over their books. Perhaps that's why it was such a big scandal at the university. But you know,
quite a few people well. I myself am not a huge fan of Candlekeep. I disagree with the idea that knowledge is that exclusive. I admit there's some amount of protection it needs in case, rather than everyone having access to a fireball, but it's having quite a lot of the useful transports and healing and knowledge locked up in one place, I feel is a bit wasteful.
I could perhaps agree with that. I mean, they're pretty forthcoming about allowing people to borrow things, and they do have a service to make full copies of books. I kind of think of them more as a giant shared repository, although I do find their entrance requirements to be a bit ridiculous. I tried to blag my way in with my dissertation, and they were like not interested. Which honestly, I just find to be a bit rude, really. But I suppose the very, very bookish types can be a little bit rude.
He'll be the bookish types be a bit rude. He'll become a bit self-reflective at that point.
Anyway, I think at this point you guys probably approach the edge of the grove, most likely, and he's like, "Anyway, what was it that you wanted to show me? It's the location about." He like thinks. He looks at a map and he's like, "I think we headed northeast." Takes a look, pulls out like a small compass, and then pulls it out and goes, this about lines up with the area. I think we might be onto something here, you know? What was it that you wished to show me?
Just recently, as a few days ago, we were sent on a mission by a circle to protect the tree. Here we fought, as you can see, some small, insignificant enemies. And we cured something for the tree.
Has anything taken the corpse of the displacer
It's
beast
still
yet?
there. It's still there, and he just notes he's saying small, insignificant beast and stares at the rotting corpse of a fucking displacer beast.
It has like a chunk taken out of it from where
From where he scraps I think he just nods at that. And lets you continue. Sorry, Tara.
And we saw a cyst on the tree, and well, we got rid of it. It was very interesting. It went off in an explosion, but not one of consequence to any of us, physically.
The tree seems to be undamaged as well. Looks rather healthy, all things considered. Not that I am a biologist.
Yes, and it better stay that way.
He kind of takes a look. He's like, a cyst, you say?
Yes.
Kind of
seemed just to be energy from the weave. It's why
it was concentrated, and when it was restored, the cyst fell off and like dispersed into the ground.
It's rather strange. It's like a biological system almost. Kind of takes a few notes. He's like, I remember hearing a theory of like weave wounds or fissures at one point, but I never really put much stock in it myself. Maybe my colleague was onto something. Kind of takes a note.
My feeling is that it's associated with the mithril that we've just visited. Is that if it appeared at a similar time and it requires a large amount of magic, inflicting a weave, what could be a large, maybe not a weave wound, but a collection of large energy from the weave would at least go some of the way to that kind of amount of magical energy.
Interesting theory. Takes a little look. He's like, still, if I may, not that I wish to necessarily start an academic debate about this based on very little info, but if there was indeed some kind of fissure that was like sapping energy from this grove and it fell off, surely the mithril would have gone away if the two were intrinsically linked. Could be similar magic, though. Timing definitely would suggest a correlation at the very least.
That's why I was curious about other sites of magical activity. Could just be that this was the main source of power. Could be other smaller ones.
Could very well be two separate experiments. I don't know. Hard to tell. I suspect he kind of also notices the corpse of the Dwargar, which is still against the tree. And he's like, who's he? Is he with you? He doesn't look so well.
That was there when we came here.
I'll trust your word on it. He looks like he was bitten into by an animal.
I'm gonna look at who's holding the journal now. Actually,
I probably would have the journals and the crystals.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, like, Arian would kind of look at, walk up to the dragon, would hop onto the shoulders of Uruk, and the dragon would whisper in his ear. See, I can't message, but I can do men's message type things. But he'd look at the one, like the second journal, the one that was found here, that's got like the actual like information rather than the one, and say, should we be handing that one over just to help add to this?
On this, with this, or we'll probably just walk over and like be on this well, he'll be like, "Can you read Undercommon?"
Not
To
not a syllable, not a syllable, my friend. I have
Well,
colleagues that could translate, though. Why do you ask?
But he'll pull out from the back his backpack the scientific notes and the crystal at the same time and be like, "Well, this is what we found on that Dwergar. It seems he was the one conducting the experiment here. He in this book he documents how his journey up from the Underdark, which seems relatively recent, which means that the Mythol obviously can't be for a while, and it makes it even more strange that the Drow aren't there because, well, if they knew, they purposely locked this guy out, which seems a bit cruel. But
Depends how long he died.
he also didn't seem the most pleasant folk.
Yes, he wouldn't exactly. He kind of stopped to think. He's like, I should be more enlightened than this. I realise, but a lot of the Drow and the Dwergar do not get on very well, by my understanding. If they were indeed to betray him, it wouldn't exactly surprise me. Maybe they already knew he was dead. Could well be that he had I don't know, some kind of scrying eye on him or something like that. Could well be watching us right now. He kind of stops and goes, that's a scary thought, isn't it?
Well, there's other scary things in this forest.
Yes, like the corpse of a displacer beast, no less.
Well, the corpse of the living version of that displacer beast is what got the Dwergar, we believe, because he
Yes,
I think what inflicted this wound is the crystal. He used it to open a portal to the Feywild.
Gosh. This is interesting, isn't it? I'm not entirely sure on the connection between warding magics and portals, but I suppose it could well be that this thing is a power source more than anything. Might be an unspecific power source. How familiar with you come across magical staffs and the like before, right?
On occasion.
No, my understanding, a lot of those tend to have some kind of core power source that sort of recharges over time. Oftentimes there are various kind of materials that we use in the construction of that, sort of things that are useful for holding magic. Could well be that little thing that you've got's quite good at that. You know, I'm not an expert on gemstones, nor am I an expert on holding magic within magical artifacts, but one of my colleagues at the college is a sort of world-leading expert on geology. Could well be that he might be able to help you out somewhat. Slightly older man, but eccentric. His name's Ilian Greyzag.
Might be worth a meeting. We were going to check out the Underdark, but that seems a bit of an impasse at the moment.
I suspect at the very least that entrance seems a little bit locked. And I don't think a knock spell is going to open that door. Kind of laughs at his own nerdy joke. But he's like, could well be another entrance to the Underdark. Ultimately, it's a lot of ground between us and there, but there's usually other entrances, small as they may be. I'm sure. I mean, I'm not necessarily suggesting a course of action, but a geologist spent a lot of time underground. Might be that Greyzag himself knows a few entrances to the Underdark, if that's the place you want to go. Suppose. Admittedly, our own sort of resources on storing of magical energy at the Waterdeep University are not the greatest. We do have a number of larger sort of catalysts, but the actual creation of those tends to be handled by outside forces. It's more a thing that we pay for. I do believe that the world-leading experts in that are in Candlekeep, so might need to blag your way into there if you wanted to know more about that.
Well, Candlekeep's also a much greater journey than it is to Waterdeep.
I suppose. I mean, there are quick ways between places. You heard of the, what's it called? Stops and thinks, like taps his chin for a second. He's like, I don't often go to Candlekeep so much myself. bit more of a haunt of a lot of my colleagues, though. I did hear of a place. You're familiar with teleportation circles, correct?
Yeah.
Well, happens that there is a place somewhere, somewhat near Candlekeep. Candlekeep are very, very heavy on their wards. Hell of a lot, honestly. It's a place I should probably spend more time in. Their warding magic's sort of the best state of the art that it really gets, but they do not really allow teleportation into Candlekeep for obvious reasons. It surpasses their security. But there's a tavern nearby called Scholar's Rest that has a little, how would you say, under the, I don't know the correct wording for it. I don't want to say illicit, because it's not illegal, but sort of on the down low kind of academic teleportation circle. I do not currently have any sort of scrolls for it, but some of my colleagues might, if you wish to get to Candlekeep quickly. Although I suppose it does require you to travel to Waterdeep first. But if you're going that way anyway, I suppose it's quicker than walking to Candlekeep further, I suppose.
I guess it just depends. I guess we might have to, if that was the plan, it might take us a bit longer in Waterdeep to gather funds, because from my knowledge, services, wizards are often charge a premium for their services. Stuff isn't easy to do, so they bit overpriced.
Well, true as that might be, the discerning academic knows an opportunity when they see one. I would offer you a teleportation scroll right now if I had one. Unfortunately, I used ours to get here. So, I'm a little bit dry on that front at the minute. Waterdeep College has deep pockets, shall we say. Again, if I were to direct you to my colleague, I mean, my understanding that I'm not entirely sure where he is. I heard that he was on an expedition. Might be that he might be able to help you if you held him or something along those lines. He seemed like a working sort, right? Might be helpful. Might be something you could do in Waterdeep itself as well. I'm sure that favours for favours is the trade there. I'm not so sure how concerned most academics are with material wealth.
Well, I feel between the group we've got going, we'll be able to do some form of assistance. If that's the cost of transportation, I'm sure we'll be managed some way of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you could always walk. It would just take you about a month, which is not ideal. Waterdeep itself is a far walk, but I suppose.
How are you planning on returning if you've teleported here?
Same way that I suspect you will have to go to Waterdeep. We shall walk. We shall walk. We plan to stay a little longer. It kind of looks to Terra like, obviously, permitting the druids do not kick us out. Ultimately, yes, true, we've made a field day of this, but if we're here already, we might as well make a bit of a field week of it. The students do not look particularly thrilled by the concept.
I like the look of that. Let's keep some wizards out in the nature for a bit.
Yeah, so I suspect it would probably be worth your while to head over to Waterdeep if it's answers that you're seeking, or work. I mean, there's always a lot of both there. Shame that your investigations at the Underdark seem to have come to a bit of a halt, but I suspect there's other methods into the Underdark, and I suspect that, well, if you could obtain some kind of map of the Underdark, you could very likely find the exact location underneath that field, I suppose. Admittedly, my own knowledge of the Underdark is very limited. It's only today I really learned that there was an entrance to the Underdark there, right?
Well, I think that settles it. We've got nowhere else to go, no other lead.
I think we'll join these guys the rest of the way, right? That's their journey.
You
I
are what?
think-
Sorry. Go ahead.
Hmm. No.
Oh, come on, Terra. I know you hate wizards, but come on.
No.
Well, are we gonna treat like a child, or we're just gonna like start walking away and hope you follow?
No, Tara just doesn't have anything to say right now.
Yeah, that's fair. That's
Yeah,
fair.
right.
Yeah.
I thought you just said no to the whole idea of following.
No, Tara just doesn't have anything to say.
Okay.
It's me. It's Dozing
I'm
saying no.
Mm-hmm. They, as far as you can tell, they do have some plans to stick around the forest for a while, like a few days. So might you could stick around them, or you could head to Waterdeep on your own. It's not necessarily. It's not an untrodden path for any of you. Well, it's an untrodden path for maybe a few of you, but some of you have travelled to and from Waterdeep from here. It's a bit of a way, though. It's like what, how far? It's the closest major city, I think. And even then, it's still about 180 miles away. So probably, I don't know, like a week's travel ish. If you wanted to travel to Candlekeep, I think that would be a bit further.
Hmm.
I think Candlekeep is approximately it's about 800 miles from here ish. 800
Oh
miles.
God.
About 800 miles from Waterdeep. It's like a little bit further away than Baldur's Gate.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, well, Baldur's Gate is about that far, really. Like Journey was on the caravan trail for like a month from Baldur's Gate, so it's a bit of a way. You could probably take a ship between Waterdeep and Baldur's Gate, and that would be significantly quicker than going by foot, most likely. Probably like 8 days travel versus a month, but teleportation magics are always quicker. If that's an option on the table, then one that you might want to take.
For the note, Scorpia, what's the tavern in Waterdeep called? The one that's the teleportation.
Sorry,
circle?
that one is specifically like Candlekeep. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's get that clear. That's Candlekeep. And it's called the Scholar's Wet. Oh my god, sorry. The Scholar's Rest. Scholar's Rest. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It seems like their teleportation circle is a bit on the down low, but this guy's a bit of a blab, as far as we can tell.
He hasn't stopped
Also,
talking
like,
the last
I
couple of
imagine that might be, or something adjacent to that might be what Uruk used to get here anyway.
Yeah, most
It
likely.
might have piggybacked on that.
Yeah, entirely possible, yeah. Like, it's not so much that, like, Candlekeep, if they found out, would go and shut it down, but it's like, they have very particular defensive wards, so a teleportation circle within, like, a few miles of their place would probably make them a little bit uneasy, which is, probably why they don't mention it too much.
Huh.
Oh. Right?
Or
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah. I think we go with this.
Those noises.
We should record
See how
that and
far
play
you
it.
get.
We should record that and play that for the sound track to any library in Waterdeep.
well, have I got good news for you?
No.
The whole thing is live on YouTube right now.
Oh my god, hi YouTube.
Hi YouTube.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna hi YouTube.
My PayPal email is dreckingtheskink@gmail.com.
So I mean, I assume that we're just heading back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think after a bit, Terry would be like, and seeing the lull in conversation, just say, "All right, let's all head back then to the circle."
I think the professor looks back like, shall we come with?
Yes, you should come with and tell them everything that you have told us.
Very well. Very well. Take us to your leader, I suppose.
And also, if I assume, like, if you're not going to be too harmful, they'll probably let you stay there, which is a lot better than just camping somewhere out here in the wilderness.
Yeah, certainly. We have we got ourselves some ability to make a magical campsite, but honestly, more the merrier, I suppose. That the druids, he just starts off again.
Every time you hit a campfire in the grove, a druid explodes.
Every time they stand in the bit of the campsite that these guys are staying on, very loud ice cream. You guys head back to the druid circle from here. It's a short distance.
Yeah. And I think Terra is going to, well, as they kind of get into sight of the grove, they're going to tell everybody to stop and say, "I will tell Allura of our presence," and they're going to send a message to Uruk and say, "I'm going to tell them everything beforehand."
Reasonable.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're just going to do a small nod and just walk off and try to find Allura.
Well, you head back to the druid circle, and sure enough, you see Alara. She seems to have been waiting for you to some extent, and she goes, "Well, welcome back. I hear you've been making friends with wizards."
Terra's just going to let out a big sigh and just collapse a little bit. Just like, oh, I am not a fan of lying and pretending I am not. Okay. 3 people from Waterdeep. They are here to investigate the opening. We did not find any of the guards who were previously stationed there. We suspect they might have run off into the Underdark or ran off somewhere else. But there is now a giant ward. They are preventing anyone from entry.
She kind of like puts her hand on her chin, like, that is it's pretty curious.
Yes, and the gates were just wide open. But we've convinced them that we are not there to harm them, that we have been here for years and years, played, I think, for years and years. Just a few white lies here and there to make them think that I'm much more scarier than I am.
Hey.
But yes, they are under the impression that I am a very scary person.
Hey, listen,
Kind of like a toothy grin. Yeah.
if you wish to make a hobby of scaring wizards, I am not going to be the one to stop you.
No, I just want to protect the grove, and the best way I could do that is
Of course.
by being a little bit scary.
So you think they seem okay?
Yes, they seem very curious, for the most part. It's a genuine curiosity, none with malice.
Oh, well.
One with no malice, as
obviously,
far as I can tell.
honestly, we've been so shut off for so long, but I suspect that, at the very least, with the kind of introduction of outsiders into our own kind of grove, well, I'm keen to meet some more outsiders, especially these studious academic types. Might be a lot of knowledge sharing we could do. By all means, I will take your word for it, and they can stay here if they wish.
Yes, yes. And they're just gonna do like a little bow and just say, "I will get them now."
Okay. Very good.
And Taylor's gonna come back out and to the group and just say, "Frodo, Allura will see you now."
I think that they follow you along, and basically, as instructed by you, just start recounting everything that they've learned. It's pretty much the same stuff that you guys have been talking about for the last hour or so, right? Like just kind of a lot of back and forth. I think that I think they seem to be at the very least both quite receptive to each other. I suspect that I think the drow probably approaches you guys while they're talking and just kind of goes, seems like we've made some interesting new acquaintances, even more in the new days. Everything seem okay? The orifice? I hate calling it that. You see, from my side, we used to call it the egress.
Well, seeing how we cannot even get into it, I don't know.
Really?
There's a giant wall over it. It's blocking everything. Not just everything.
That is quite honestly, that's very strange. I might have to check it out. Sorry, say that again.
Not another outside as well.
Yes, I didn't see any on the fortress, but I am surprised by that. Perhaps I'll have to investigate this myself. I might well check it out, as it were. Been a while since I've been back there. And what about you lot? Where are you off to next?
I will soon want to do.
Well,
Yeah. If someone with more information on that, we're going to go down to the other block, we'll just ask about what is probably the better to go to.
well, it's a place full of academics. I suppose none better. Do you wish for a guide out of the forest?
More quickly than well.
Okay. Very well. Works for me. Shall we? Just kind of pauses for a second.
Well, not at the moment. We are still waiting on... Well, are we going to wait on them? Looking to the group.
I imagine they'll be fine on their. You're referring to the wizards, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I imagine they just want to sit and study. If I know any, given how he was talking, and given what I know about more, what is it? Professional academics. They are quite slow and may be here for a lot longer than you expect. So if we want to get anything solved in a reasonable amount of time, it may just be worthwhile to move on sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I agree with Eric. Let's dump the nerds.
We're dumping these nerds, we're keeping these nerds.
But
Nerd bracket cool, nerds bracket fail.
The cool nerds and the cringe nerds.
okay.
Looking at the map, and would it make sense for us to go to like West Bridges, like that, like go along and then go along the inroads rather than trying to go back to towards Lylon?
You definitely could do. You're. I would say that the thing is, Crypt Garden itself is like about 70 miles wide, and you are definitely you're on like the west side of Crypt Garden.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So it might well be that your quickest path really would be going down the coast, basically.
Yeah. Go past the Sword Mountains and down the coast.
Yeah, go past the other Sword Mountains through.
Yes.
through Thornhold and Carnath Roadhouse and whatnot. Yeah.
I think Tara's just going to nod and say, yes, then we leave soon. It's still early, so make sure you pack. We'll handle the wizards. And, essentially all that Tara's going to do is... Tara's pretty much already packed right now, but they're going to go over to the wizards once they're finished talking with Allura. and they're going to say, "Me and my party must go. We have another duty that has called us."
Well, I think Irving steps forward and he's like, "I wish you luck. Tell you what, if you do make your way over to the College of Waterdeep and you wish for access to the grounds, just mention that you're a guest of Irving. Tell you what, he pulls out like a small printed card. It's got kind of like his name and some details on it. There's a weird kind of magical sheen to it. He's like, you present that to the sort of guard, the gate staff. They should let you in. We're not normally too close to outsiders, but you can never be too careful. And so, you know,
I've just thought. Oh, sorry. I was just thinking, having thought of something. Can I do an Arcana to see if I recognise like any other of his work? I guess if I see his like full name and that.
Yeah.
Because I imagine this is like a business card with like.
Yeah. Go for it. Give me an Arcana or History check. Probably an Arcana check.
15.
I would say on a 15, the name Irving Devine is not that familiar. Like there is a lot of Waterdeep scholars you've read stuff from. You suspect this guy is a junior professor there.
Yeah.
But you think you may have read some like it might well be that some of it's most likely that in your time at Candlekeep you've read a few manuscripts by this guy because he would have presented them as like his own entrance fee. Like
when I was like, yeah, because if I'm like a similar age to this dude, when he presented as an entrance fee, it's probably likely that Ulrich was like one of the dudes that they were like, just go like, you know, like just the grunt work of just like go over this and like if it's you think it's good enough, pass it up the chain.
Yeah, literally.
It's just say you just hand him grunt work.
I think basically what you're familiar with is pretty much what he's told you, which is that he is like a specialist on warding magic, and he had a number of proposals for I would say he's not really made much in the way of advancements. He's a very, very young wizard, really. But kind of one of the foremost experts on warding magic in Waterdeep itself, and like has a number of probably has like a small book on. Tell you what, more specifically, he probably has like a specific book that you have heard of, that you probably received and took a copy of. Basically, it's like a bunch of notes on known miffles. Like it was, like basically
elements of abjuration magic and their applications, some shit like that.
Yeah. So something like that. I would say like I think it's even that like maybe he wrote it in a slight storybook tone and called it like the mysteries of the miffles or something like that. It's like somewhat more of a layman's introduction to the concept of miffles based on a bunch of known abandoned places that had miffles on them. I suspect that he attempted to collaborate with Candlekeep to talk about their own miffle, and they just straight up kind of refused him that research opportunity.
No.
Yeah, they do not really want people figuring out how their miffle works. So it's more like, you know, it's most likely that like he is aware of a number of the restrictions within Candlekeep and probably notes them down, but hasn't. Just kind of goes like, the scholars at Candlekeep have stonewalled me, basically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I do think that after that, and like after a moment has passed, everyone's like getting their stuff together. Tara's gonna go to Allura, and just like it kind of like one-on-one, and just say, I would say, watch them.
Well done, boy.
Mostly, yes. Just have somebody with them at all times.
Yes. I do not think that they will cause us particular worry. They seem harmless enough. Plus, I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't think any of them are carrying any weapons. Probably magic proficient, I would suspect. But aside from that,
Yes.
they seem like scholars to me. Ultimately, they might ask a few annoying questions, but I'm happy to answer. I have a strong belief in the sharing of knowledge wherever possible. You take care of yourself, yeah?
Yes. I was about to say as well, we are heading to Waterdeep.
I suspected that you might be. It does seem like you've got yourself embroiled in a bit of a mystery, really. I'm almost jealous. Still, my duties lie with Crypt Garden. You are welcome to come back anytime, all of you. But, you just remember us if things ever get a bit hard, yeah?
Yes. I will. We will.
He kind of looks to Arian like, I hope the wand treats you well, young sir.
Thank you.
May Sylvanus watch over you all, especially as you leave the wonderful place, the wonderful sanctuary of the forest and go back onto the coastal roads.
And thank you for your hospitality
Well,
and advice.
thank you for everything. It has been my pleasure. Keep safe. And I suppose this is goodbye for now.
Indeed.
For now.
But not farewell. Kind of gives you a. I think probably honestly, in a surprisingly kind of. She's got a somewhat kind of slightly kind of authoritative demeanor, but I think that she probably does offer you a hug, like those that are willing, basically.
Yeah.
Tara is very willing.
She gives you a very big hug, Tara. Gives you a big squeeze, and then just kind of like before she draws away, she's just like, "Good luck finding your family."
I thank you.
Kind of looks to the rest, just like wouldn't begrudge an old woman a bit of sentimentality, no?
And like, I'll take it leading for her. Why not? I'll say, and it's not much use here, but we used to say it's back at sea. But fair winds to you and your forest.
Yes, and may Milsil. I was trying to think of something related to Sylvanus's beard, but admittedly, I'm not quite as good with those kind of metaphors. But I hope that Sylvanus casts her eye of you well. And Timora.
I'm sure she will. Give her a wink, flip my coin.
Watches the coin disappear, just kind of shakes her head.
Mm-hmm.
Probably approaches Ulrich as well. You look after these lot, yes? You seem like the slightly older and wiser one, if I do say.
I think I'm the oldest of, well, not the oldest, but I'm probably one of the older ones in the group, and well,
I suspect you probably are the
Not
oldest.
as-
I suspect you are the oldest.
but what not even 30 yet, and you think I'm the oldest?
Well, who else would be older than you? Like
I mean, Tara doesn't know their age.
no.
Scraps.
Okay, but like, how long has Terra been going along like the coast? Probably like a few years.
For a few years, yeah.
Yeah. Like I imagine somewhat that Terra is still like early 20s, if that. To some extent, like probably older than that potentially, but in terms of like actually going around doing things, probably a bit younger. But yeah, she offers you the same hug, Ulrich, if you take it.
Her probably would decline.
That's fair. That's
Just-
fair.
Do a handshake instead, or
So prim
whatever.
and proper, you wizards. She gives you a smile. She's just like, Good travels to you, sir. Good travels. Then looks to Arian and the dragon as well.
Yeah, Arian will full go in for the hug.
Oh, 'cause I think probably somewhat like I'd say squeezes you, and also like gives your dragon a small like stroke with her finger as well. She's like, "I'll never forget you two. I hope you know that." Well, she kind of sniffs, almost standing up again. It's like, gosh, never thought I'd be so sentimental after a few days, but I suppose a lot has happened in the last few days. Thank you for everything. Good luck. I must tend to my flock and those lot. Kind of points to the wizards. Save some of my fellow druids from getting interrogated too much. I think at this point, the drow kind of reapproaches, like, well, you ready to go?
I believe so.
Where's Scraps?
I'm imagining that they are here, and that I'm imagining that she offered a hug to both Journey and Scraps, and if I'm going to I'm not going to necessarily prescribe actions for people's characters. Journey would. I'm like 90% sure Journey would have gone for the hug. And
yes.
Yeah, no, 100%
yeah,
sure.
100% sure Journey would have gone for the hug, and not entirely sure about Scraps. Really, Scraps is probably distracted doing something else.
Scraps
In a tree.
attacking the wizards.
And Scraps
Protecting his blink dog from the wizards.
Yeah, probably. I imagine that the more skittish looking wizard is avoiding that fucking blink dog like the plague.
Oh no, don't call it that fucking blink dog. Call it Scorpion.
I'm sorry, that freaking blink dog.
Oh my god.
That flipping blink dog. There you go. All right.
That blinking blink dog.
That blinking flip dog. Yeah. I think well, I think that we I'm tempted. I'm saying we've gone for about 2 hours and 45 minutes. I'm tempted to call it a day and start off with the travel towards Waterdeep tomorrow, like next time.
Yeah,
That
it
seems-
does
Yeah.
feel like the sort of thing that's like a it's more self-contained in a sense.
Yeah.
Like to start it now seems like a lot.
Yeah, I tend to run D&D sessions until I feel like they've come to a decent conclusion point. This feels like a decent conclusion point, most likely. So I think I shall call session 5 to a close for now.
Bye YouTube.
Bye YouTube. Bye Patches. Bye Nish.
Bye.
Oh my god, bye.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell. And
Make sure to purchase Scorpius YouTube membership.
Yeah, and buy me some D&D books if you want.